the promise of AI that it can actually help them with something that they really want to get rid of the table. So here, the way we deploy it and the way that actually now the platform can auto-reply questionnaires and simply just get this off the table from the treasurers is a huge conversation driver at the moment. So I think those two things, and which match well, right? The problem is getting worse, but on the positive side, there's actually technology out there that has become super, super good at solving it faster for the customers. So I think that's two digital trends.
Before we start, I want to highlight the biggest challenge I've noticed in the Treasury industry. It's professionals finding it tough to build an impactful brand. That's exactly why I put together an ebook, Building and Managing an Impactful Professional Brand. It has helped over 100 professionals define their unique values and stand out in their careers. In this ebook, you'll find practical tips to build a strong network and sharpen the skills you need to succeed in this industry. And the best part? It's completely free. Grab your copy now by clicking the link in the description below.
Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey. I am your host for the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast. We are live at the AFP Annual Conference in Boston. Thrilled to be here with my esteemed guest, Anders Meinert Jørgensen. He is the CEO of Avallone, all things KYC. If you haven't seen the podcast before, the way it works, just like you'd think, truth or dare, I'm going to ask Anders through several rounds. Are you going to do a truth? Or are you going to be willing to do a dare? About halfway through, I'll be brave enough to have him ask me a dare, and then we might just pull some people off the aisles here and see if they want to ask me to do a dare. So before we dive in, Anders, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in Treasury, and then give us a little about the evolution of Avallone, what you guys are doing and why.
Perfect. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for having me. So yeah, I used to be working in banking for more than 21 years as head of compliance as well for two different banks. So you kind of know the pain point of KYC and how much people really dislike it. And then, we started Avallone 6 years ago, trying to get that pain point off, especially the treasurer's table. How can we help them reply to KYC requests coming from the banks? And then, just by once you start landing customers, we just evolved the platform, listening to the customers and the pain points, and just figuring out how can we get KYC off the table faster for our clients and our customers.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I know every time I say the word KYC, I get a sour look on my face. Yeah. So hopefully we're going to be able to help folks change out. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to have our first round. Okay, are we going to start with a truth or are we going to go right into a dare? What do you think?
I think let's start out mildly with the truth.
All right. So why don't you please share with us, we might know the answer, but what are you most passionate about? Like in Treasury, you've had a lot of experience in Treasury. What's your biggest passion?
No, I think it's I think it's the people you meet, the customers, right? I mean, treasury people is a special breed. It's they're super competent, they're super fact focused. You don't run around the bush with them. I mean, you need to get your things straight. So I think just meeting customers, hearing their stories, to your point, hearing their stories about how much they hate KYC, and typically asking them, what's your worst experience with KYC? They kind of share one impossible bank, this or that, Excel sheets with password protection or whatever it might be. And so just hearing those conversations and then, of course, being able to help them, getting it off the table and enabling them to get back to the work they're actually passionate about, which is more like cash flow forecasting, real treasury management engineering.
Yeah, so just to dovetail on that a little bit. So, of course, we use the word KYC, and I know you have a background in banking. So share with us maybe the conversations you've been having with the banks and their appetite to collaborate and work with technology like yours to make life easier for the treasury practitioners.
Yeah, I think a lot has happened over the last 6 years. I think 5 years ago, the banks were a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more, closed up. But now they start to really realize that when you are a multi-bank corporate, you don't want to share KYC with this bank and then this bank and this bank in these online portals. So the banks are really waking up to the notion of being able to reuse data. And then actually, surprisingly late, they're waking up to the importance of customer satisfaction. Because when the banks now are looking at their corporate satisfaction surveys, KYC is just the biggest pain point and the biggest driver of dissatisfaction with clients. So we have a lot of good conversations and deep conversations with banks around how they can collaborate, how they can get the data from us out and digest that. I think you have to remember it's not just about getting the data, because the banks has huge operational costs when they work for the data, and they are under huge regulatory pressure. So if you can at the same time make the customers more happy, so the treasurers, and actually deliver better data to the banks, it's a total win-win situation.
Right. So, as you said, no matter how great you guys are, there has to be some partnership with the bank.
Yeah.
So you have to have that collaboration. And once they get the value of that, it's a value add, and it can be a competitive advantage for the banks that really jump on there first. So, all right, next round, we're going to have a truth or a dare.
Let's do another truth.
All right. So please share with me, this is the truth. How do we get people to pay attention to KYC? How do you make it important within a company, within the office of the CFO? How do we stress that importance or get some buy-in, or, hey, we need to do this?
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of angles to that. I think, of course, very often when you are at the C level, you don't understand the mechanics, how difficult it actually is and how much time you're actually spending on it. So the obvious one, which I know treasurers love, is just like putting numbers on the table. How much time do we spend? But in terms of significance, is also like examples of where banks are actually freezing your accounts or closing your accounts, or you don't have access to financial products. Because that's something that would scare, I think, any CEO that, okay, what's going on? We're losing our infrastructure in terms of banking. And then I think there's another layer to it, which is kind of trying to understand, why do we do KYC and why is it so important for the banks? So when you think about it, financial crime, which we're trying to prevent, has real crime underneath. So when you're trying to launder money, it's because the money are illegal and you got it from criminal activities. So what you're actually fighting when you're performing KYC tasks is like all the evils of the world. It's human trafficking, it's drug trafficking, illegal arms trading, terrorist financing. So really trying to also kind of put that context into the picture, I think makes it, super important for any C-level.
Right. And so what you kind of touched on there was something we'll talk a little bit about, just to kind of take a question out of that, a truth there. So what you mentioned was like fraud. So we have had conversations about kind of transitioning KYC to know your customer, to know your counterparty.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on the fraud part. So now we're expected to know about our suppliers and our customers, and that's coming from the banks as well. So can you touch in a little about that? What's driving that?
And yeah, I think so. 5-10 years ago, you would, in the compliance world in banking, you would joke around, know your customers as KYCC, right? But it's actually here today, right? Because the flows from your suppliers and your customers, they show up in your account. And those flows is what the banks are interested in. And when they start to see flows they don't understand, they start to say, where are these money coming from? Well, that's from a customer. Okay, we need to know who that customer is. And then suddenly you just go one level deeper. So things start to connect now. The other driver of it is, the geopolitical situation in the world is just going, more and more uncertain.
Right.
So this means that sanctions risk is super high and very, very complicated to navigate in. But if you want to understand if your suppliers or customers are sanctioned, you need to perform KYC on them, because sanctions is not just on the company, it's on the owners. So how do you know if one of the owners of one of your suppliers is actually a Russian oligarch or whatever the example might be? So there's just multiple things driving this. And I guess, the bad news is that it's getting worse.
Right.
So if you're not doing something about it, you should start to do something about it.
Yeah, and I would say that, just a dovetail, counterparty risks are exploding, and there's more visibility, and you're expected to stay on top of it and understand it. And the people that are generating these risks are using AI and other technologies. So it's much easier to, if you have an issue, there goes your career at Treasury. Sorry, that's just, we don't get much praise. We get the downside of it.
It's a downside business.
All right, so let's go next round. Are we ready to do a dare yet? Or
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it there.
here we go. First dare. Will we share with us maybe an embarrassing moment from your career?
Okay, so it's probably a career. So I was in New York a couple of years ago, and I was walking into a bar, and that feeling that you meet someone
Right.
and a man will come walking towards me, and I'm like, I know this guy, and I know him so well that it must be a friend. So I walk up to him and say, hey, it's nice to see you again. And I start to want to hug him, but he kind of pushes me away. And in that moment, I realized it's George Clooney. I just knew him from the movie, but so that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm no George Clooney, but hey, I do get my wife will tell you that happens all the time. All right, so I'm gonna let you give me a dare.
Okay, let's have a dare.
All right, give me a dare.
Are you a good singer? Can you sing a song?
I don't know. Well, I might have a song, so I'll do my best. Now, I don't know auto tuning this. Here we go. Where it begin, I can't begin to know it. KYC's getting out of control. Now it's suppliers, and now it's customers of customers. Who'd have believed KYC would come along from Avallone? Nobody's gonna say hands, touching hands. Come on, give it to me. Reaching out, touching me, touching KYC. Sweet Caroline. Good times never seem so good. So good, so good, so good. I've been inclined to believe KYC would never be nothing but annoying. But now it's not with Avallone.
Amazing. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'd like to ask a member of the audience to give me a dare. So how about this handsome gentleman over here with the blue glasses on? Yeah,
It's you.
come up here.
Here.
Yeah, give me a dare. This is the Treasury Whisperer. So,
Hello, fans. Whisperies.
all right, what do you got for me?
I don't know. I'm thinking another song. I mean, that was kind of repressive.
My wife's like, please don't ask him to sing anymore. All right, here we go. Ready? This is a little easier. I remember all my life hanging down as cold as ice, shadows of a man, the face through a window, crying in the night, waiting for Zoya.
That is very impressive.
Thank you so much for participating. All right, now let's get back to the podcast. All right, we going to go back to a truth, or are we going to do a double back-to-back dare time?
I think it's going to be a truth now.
Okay. So, can you share with me, truth, how are the conversations changed this year with your clients and potential clients? Different questions are asking. Is there more of a focus in certain areas that you're seeing at all?
I think we're seeing two trends. One is coming back to the problems just getting worse. So we have customers and prospects coming back now saying, hey, listen, it's just over the last year, 2 years, just really, really grown. So the need to find a solution has really gone up. I think the other one, which is super obvious, is how do we deploy AI to drag it out, right? Yeah. And I think customers are starting, they're looking for strong use cases for AI. Everyone has now started to use ChatGPT and they can ask questions, we do research, but it's not really, moving the dial.
Right.
And I think a lot of them have, the promise of AI that it can actually help them with something that they really want to get rid of the table. So here, the way we deploy it and the way that actually now the platform can auto-reply questionnaires and simply just get this off the table from the treasurers is a huge conversation driver at the moment. So I think those two things, and which match well, right? The problem is getting worse, but on the positive side, there's actually technology out there that has become super, super good at solving it faster for the customers. So I think that's the two trends.
All right, let's do a couple more rounds and then we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So are you going to go for another truth or dare? What are we going to do?
Let's do another truth.
All right. So can you share with me maybe the lowest hanging fruit when you talk to a client and they're like, they don't realize kind of the value in what you guys are doing? What is like the thing you would just want to get people to know if they listen to podcasts? What is it? We can do it, or it's not that, what is it low hanging there?
I think the low hanging fruit is just getting started. You don't necessarily need to buy a huge platform. You don't need to necessarily know a lot, but it's just getting started and moving 1-2 steps ahead, because the moment you start to move forward, you learn a lot, right? I think there's too many, especially in large organizations, that they want to move from kind of a 0 to 100. So then nothing happens, because I think I've been working in large organizations myself, and I think one of the diseases in large organizations is that you have way too much going on. So if you have a store here, you have like 20 pans cooking at the same time, and everything is lukewarm and nothing is done, right? Just nothing is being prepared for a meal, right? Instead of just shutting down 17, just focus on 3 of them and really doing it, right? So I think this thing just get started. It's not complex necessarily. Of course, if you want to do a perfect solution, yeah, it requires something to intuition and competence, but way too many people just wait and just caught in the pain.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of inspired me to think about how good of a training tool it is to understand your organization. So for Treasury, you have the opportunity to be that person and understand the legal structure, the capital structure. And you and I have talked about use cases. We can start to look at bank covenants, kind of anything that needs to be in a centralized location with visibility where you could share across Treasury, legal, IT, and auditors. And so that's going to be happening, right? Yeah. Now you're going to get more audit requests. So to me, it's incredibly exciting. And everyone I talk to at the conference is like, someone does KYC. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing.
I think it's a super positive, kind of signal we're getting here at the AFP, right? Because exactly to your point, that there are simply customers coming out, stopping, looking there, like we didn't know there's a solution in the world for this, right? So, and the pain point is there, right? So, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close. I gotta ask you this question because obviously I love the run KYC. Yes. What was the inspiration?
We have simply an amazing marketing manager, Data, and it was her idea. But of course, it comes from the Run DMC, and it rhymes and it has the same 3-headed thing. And then I think it's just because there's so many people that really dislike KYC, this thing that we can start to, connect it with something fun and positive I think is a really good start and a good icebreaker to a conversation, right? Okay.
Well, let's wrap things up. So what can we expect to see from you guys? Where are you looking in terms of functionality coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so now we're just pushing super hard on the AI as much as possible of course, we want the users to be in control, but anything of these more basic tasks we can get off the table, we're going to get off the table. So that's a big push from us. More and more, we shed more than 150 banks globally, so more and more push with the banks, more and more deeper collaborations and API with the banks is going to be a focus. And a constant focus for us and a value for us is to create, outstanding user experiences. So this is not a tool that looks like some of the other more legacy tools that treasurers are used to. Now that you have to do KYC, it has to be a pleasant experience when we go into the platform and really help you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being a guest, and I want to let my viewers know that I'm going to be doing a lot more with Avallone as we help educate folks around KYC, change that perspective, know your counterparty, use KYC to earn a seat at the strategic table at your company's tremendous opportunity. So in closing, to all of my listeners out there, have the courage to live your Treasury truths and to be great in everything that you do within and beyond Treasury. Thank you, everyone. Till next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching the show. I hope you guys liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and hit the subscribe button for more.